Hello, Bengal fans. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Bengals in Paradise. I am Chasen Scott, aka Cincinnati 808, and sorry about the long wait for my new video. I was dealing with some personal matters, so sorry about the wait, but here I am making a new video, kind of catching up on things, especially with the Al Golden hiring, which was last Thursday, I believe. It was official Thursday. But before I get into that video, if you guys like my content, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Really appreciated. And also, I want to give a big shout out to my wife for being my graphics designer. She totally revamped my YouTube channel. It looks fire. It's professionally well done. She called what I previously had, it was amateur and looked homemade. So I want to give a shout out to my wife for changing all that up. So let's get started with today's video, and I want to first talk about the official hire of new Bengals defense coordinator Al Golden. So like I said in my previous videos, I love this hiring. I think it was kind of a match made in heaven, especially when it comes to familiarity. They know each other extremely well. Al Golden has been with the Bengals for 2 seasons as linebackers coach, and he brought up the best in Logan Wilson, Jermaine Pratt. I feel personally like they had their best years when Al Golden was their linebacker coach. So I feel like this is truly a good hire on both sides. Zach Taylor, he knew what he wanted going in after firing Lou. I feel he wanted Al the entire time. He was their primary target, who he wanted all along. Patrick Graham, he would have been a nice hire as well, but I feel he was just the backup in case Al Golden, if things just fell through. But it didn't, and he became officially a DC on Thursday. And I feel when it comes to Al Golden that he brings out the best in players, and that's just what this Bengals team needs. As great as a defensive coordinator that Lou Anarumo was, he just wasn't developing the players this season, wasn't bringing out the best in them. And I feel like we need a coach that has that message to the players that they can perform to the best of their abilities. And with Al Golden, I feel like he can do that. He showed it with Notre Dame. He brought out the best in those players. Xavier Watts was a real standout safety for them. Benjamin Morrison was arguably the best cornerback in the nation, just loaded up with talent, and he was the man that brought out the best in them and led them to a national championship game. So I feel that's one of his best attributes, and I feel it's a perfect match for what Zach is trying to incorporate for this defense. There's so much young players on that side of the ball that just need some developing, and to bring out their untapped potential with that roster. There's so many players that you can just go down the line and just look at players that needs to be fully developed, especially on the D-line with Myles Murphy. And they brought in a new defensive line coach in Jerry Montgomery, who I think was a great hire as well. He brings out the best in players. What he did with the Green Bay roster was amazing, and especially with the Patriots for that last season, how he made Keon White look like a great defensive lineman. So I feel with Jerry on board, and now with Al Golden on board, I just hope to see the drastic changes that they can bring for the players, and that's bringing out the best in everybody. And it's just not just Myles Murphy. It's McKinley Jackson, it's Chris Jenkins, Cedric Johnson. With the linebacker corps, you got John Meta, you got Shaka Hayward. With the DB room, you got Tyson Anderson, Geno Stone, Dejon Anthony, Cam Taylor-Britt, Dax Hill, DJ Turner. The list goes on and on. So many players to see if they can bring out the best in them. And if they can, I truly believe this defense can look no worse than the average defense, the 16th best defense in the league. And if all things go according to plan, which in my heart feels like they can, sky's the limit for this team. Because Bengal fans, we all know last season what the Achilles heel was to why Bengals didn't make the playoffs, and it was, majority of it was the defense. You can blame some of the offense, you can blame some of it on special teams, but majority of the reasonings why we didn't make the playoffs was because the defense. And I completely understood the Bengals' decision on letting Lou go. It was just time. They needed a fresh start. They needed a change of scenery. And clearly the defense wasn't getting Lou's message. And not only that, but part of it was him being stubborn to put out the younger players to play early on in the season rather than relying on the veterans to play. And that backfired on him. Keeping Sam Hubbard in there longer than expected hurt this defense. Keeping Von Bell in when you should have put Jordan Battle in there like way earlier in the season, that bit them. So I put part blame not the message being heard from the players, but also that Lou was stubborn in letting the young players play, and instead relying on the veterans that had big moments, but that was seasons ago. These players are older now. These veterans, they lost a step. So he was just going by name rather than performance, and I feel that truly was one of the biggest reasons why this Bengals defense was struggling this year. And they're ranked 30th. Everybody's seen it. Especially, I feel the last straw was the first game this season against Pittsburgh. Their offense is not good at all. And yet, Cincinnati allowed 44 points against the Steelers. And that is just unacceptable on all standards. There was no reason why Steelers should have put up that many points against this Bengals defense. And I feel that was just, Bengals front office they seen enough. And I feel like that Steelers game was truly the game that decided Lou's fate on staying for the following season. But here we are. Fresh start. Al Godin is in the building now. And like I said, I'm excited about this hire. I seen comments and posts on X where, I get it. Bengal fans wanted to see, more interviews being had. They only interviewed 3 candidates that we know, or maybe they interviewed more behind the scenes. I don't know, but I feel like they felt like they could have expanded horizons and interviewed more people. Dennis Allen, Eberflus, Robert Saleh. There was more candidates, but you can't fault them for targeting who they wanted. And if they want something, they got it. And lo and behold, they got Al Godin. So I'm not gonna fault them for that. They had a mindset going in right after they let go of Lou, that who they're trying to target the entire time. So we'll see if that's gonna bite them or if it's gonna be a really good hire. But like I said, in my gut, I feel this is truly a good hire for this Bengals team. That being said, I want to move on to the next topic, and that's possible free agent targets for when free agency starts in March. If you guys follow me on X, I always kind of put out like starting lineups for next season on who I think would fit perfectly for this Bengals team. And there's a couple of guys that I feel would truly just make a difference for this team. And I want to start with the defensive side of the ball, especially with the D-line. I hope that Bengals don't do the original way of they want somebody but they don't want to give them that guaranteed money. I just hope that with last season that kind of motivated them to make some changes when it comes to like the financial decisions with guaranteeing more money to players and just how they structure deals. For example, the defensive tackle from the Cowboys, Osa Orizua, sorry if I pronounce your name wrong, he's a 3-tech from Dallas who had 7 sacks last season. That is truly a disruptor, and I feel like he can be a huge difference maker for this defense. We've been needing that 3-tech for the longest of times, and I feel they haven't had a dominant 3-tech since Geno Atkins. So I really want that to change. And he's not going to cost cheap. I know that. But that was my whole point into hoping that the Bengals front office realizes that they have to change their philosophies in order to get players that they need to get. And I feel with Osa, his potential is still not being used. I feel like he can take it a step even further. He could possibly becoming a Pro Bowler. He has all the potential in the world, and when you see his PFF grades, he has so much pressures, and that's what Bengals defense truly needs. We need a 3-tech difference maker, and I feel with Osa, he would be that. He's not gonna cost cheap. I know that. He's projected somewhere in the 16 to 20 million a year, but Bengals are gonna have to dip in their pockets if they wanna get him, and I feel like they should. He will truly be a real difference maker for this team. And if not him, there's Milton Williams from Philadelphia. He would probably cost more because I feel he's more of a well-known name in the league. He's probably gonna cost somewhere in that ballpark, 20 million. And he's another one who's truly a disruptor on the defensive line. Maybe a struggle in the run game, but when it comes to the rushing the pass, he truly is elite. I believe he's second best when it comes to pressure rates, and that's just incredible. And Bengals need a 3-tech for so long already. And when it comes to those two are probably like the tip top of the market, which we're gonna have to pay for. And I feel someone with a more middle tier is Levi. I forgot his last name. It's a long name as well, from the Detroit Lions. He's another 3-tech that's kind of flying under the radar because of injuries, but when he's healthy, he's another disruptor too that I feel he could make a difference for this Bengals defense. He had a lot of playing time this year, finally healthy, and when he's on, he's on. So when it comes to the defensive tackles, those 3 guys specifically is who I'm looking at, and I'm hoping the Bengals can target and sign one of them this offseason. When it comes to the edge rushers, there's 2 in particular that I feel Bengals should target. One is Baron Browning from the Cardinals. He's strictly a pass rusher, but generally that's what the Bengals need. We are in dire need of pass rush. We can't just be having Trey Hendrickson and nobody else. We need difference makers on the defensive line because when you impact the pass on opposing teams, that just makes it easier for the secondary. So I feel like once we upgrade the pass rush, it'll make it just so much easier for the DBs. And when it comes to the edge, I feel Baron Browning, he won't really necessarily break the bank. It'll kind of be like a mid-tier signing, and I feel he'll make a difference alongside Trey. He got traded mid-season to Arizona, and he had a really good year. And I love what I see from Baron. He truly has like an elite get off, and him alongside Trey, that would be lethal. Another guy in which the Bengals are actually interested in during mid-season, but I guess trades didn't follow through for whatever reason, but that's Giants edge rusher Azeez Ojulari. He's another one I feel would truly make a difference for this team. And he had a monster game against the Bengals last season. I believe he had 2 sacks. He could have had 4, but you can't have them all. But he truly is a disruptor too, and I feel like with Azeez, you'd probably have to pay more than Baron Browning. But I would say if you offer him a 3-4 year deal, 10 million average, I feel like that's reasonable. So you get him for like a 4-year deal, 40 million, 10 million annually. I feel like that would be a really good deal for both sides. And when it comes to the edge rushers, I'm strictly just looking at Baron Browning and Azeez Ojulari. I feel like they'll be perfect fits for this defense, and I feel like they'll be perfect complements to Trey Hendrickson. If you can have those two alongside each other, this defense would look real nasty, especially with a veteran 3-tech or a rookie 3-tech that can make a difference on this line. Sky's the limit for this team. So that's just the defensive line. With the linebackers, I'm curious to see what Al Golden decides to do with Jermaine Pratt. I know Jermaine Pratt had his best years under Al Golden, but Jermaine is 29 now, and he kind of had a declining this year, especially when it comes to missed tackles and coverage. So I'm just curious to see what Al decides to do with Jermaine. I know Logan Wilson's a lock. He's going to come back from an injury, and he had a great year before he got injured last season. So Logan's a lock. When it comes to Jermaine Pratt, that's still unknown. I don't know what they're going to do. Time will tell. To me, Jermaine is a big question mark to what they do, and if they do decide to move on, I don't know whether they're going to target a linebacker in free agency or in the draft. As of today, if I was to predict, I feel like they would target a linebacker in the draft. They would probably want somebody young, athletic, that can fly sideline to sideline, that can cover, running backs, tight ends really well. And I feel what better way to do that than to have a young linebacker, especially one that can learn under Logan Wilson, take him under his wing, and just develop. I feel like with the draft, that's where they would go if they decide to address the linebacker position and get a new one. I feel like the draft is the way. And when it comes to the secondary, another question mark is Geno Stone. Like I said with Jermaine, I am curious to see what Al Golden does with Geno Stone. If the last 5 games that he had was enough for him to secure a job in the safety position, or was it just too little too late? Because before that 5-game winning streak at the end of the season, Geno Stone was struggling. But was that based off of Lou's stubbornness to adjust to his players and make the defensive scheme more simplistic? Or was Geno Stone this is actually his first full year starting? Was it too much for him to handle, and should we give him another run at potentially starting alongside Jordan Battle? Or does Al Golden look at it as, I feel like we can potentially have an upgrade in the safety room and cut ties with him? Who knows? So to me, Geno Stone and Jermaine Pratt are probably the biggest question marks when it comes to the defensive side of the ball, whether they retain them or they just straight up cut them. And if they were to let Geno Stone go, you guys that follow me on X see how much times I've been clamoring for Bengals hopefully to get Xavier Watts in the draft, out of Notre Dame. He'll be the perfect second round draft pick, and he'll be the perfect match because he played under Al Golden for 3 seasons, and he was a team captain, and he's a ball hawk. He's a natural free safety, and he would fit just perfectly for this Bengals defense. And I feel truly that if they were to move on from Geno Stone, that Xavier Watts would be the person that they target the most, who will be their replacement for Geno. And it will be a match made in heaven if they were to get Xavier Watts, because he already knows Al Golden's defensive scheme. So I feel if Geno is cut, I feel like they would go to the draft as well for that and find Geno's replacement in the draft. And to me, no one better than Xavier Watts. And when it comes to the cornerback room, that one is unknown as well. They're going to be having a lot of depth. You got DJ Ivey, DJ Turner, Fig Newton, Cam Taylor-Britt. You got all these players that are going to be competing for the starting cornerback room, nickelback, and the 2 outside corners. So I'm really intrigued to see what they do. I expect that they probably are not going to bring back Mike Hilton, as sad as that's going to be. I love Mike Hilton. He's one of my favorite Bengal players of all time. But he's creeping up in age as well, and I feel like, do they want to let the young guys show what they can do, or would they want to bring in a veteran like Mike back and take them under the wing and just him being a leader? So time will tell on what's going to happen when it comes to that. And other than that, that's it for today's episode. I just want to address the possible free agent targets that I feel Bengals should target, and I want to discuss the Al Golden hiring. So I hope you guys enjoyed my video today, and like I said, if you guys like my content, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. And you can also see for more of my Bengals content, you guys can follow me on X at Cincy808, or go to my Instagram page at Cincy_808. Until then, Bengal fans, I hope you enjoyed my video. Have a great rest of your day. Hoo day!